The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, narrated and illustrated by Zurita. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy where the borough goes, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxim he sought, so rested he by the tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and barbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, callooh, callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy where the borough goes, and the mome rats outgrabe. So now we're gonna analyze the poem, and this was a nonsense poem written by Lewis Carroll a long time ago, and he also wrote Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. So some of this really doesn't make any sense, and I don't think it's supposed to make sense. I think it's open to interpretation, and I looked up what a lot of these words meant, but you guys wouldn't have known what they would mean in the AP exam. So yeah, let's get into it. So it says, "'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe." So brillig is a setting word. It could be weather, it could be time. Well, it actually is time. It's around 4 o'clock in the day. And slithy toves. Toves is a noun, and you can tell that slithy is describing toves. So slithy would be an adjective, and this is kind of a word that comes from the combination of slimy and lithe. Gyre and gimble, those are nonsense verbs, and gyre probably has something to do with circular motion because it looks like the beginning of the word gyroscope. And wabe is a place, and you know that it could be a place because it's in a preposition in the wabe. Alright, all mimsy where the borough goes, and mome rats outgrabe. So mimsy is an adjective that could come from combining the two words miserable and flimsy, and borough goes is a noun. You know that because here's a noun and that's the verb, and mome rats outgrabe. So rats would be the noun, mome is describing rats, and outgrabe is the action. And so if rats is an animal, this would just describe it, and then this is something that the animal is doing, and it could be not a sound because animals make sounds all the time. So Humpty Dumpty actually explains what these words mean to Alice in Alice Through Their Looking Glass. And so Borogos, he said, are some kind of extinct parrots, which is what I drew right here. And he says that rats are a type of land turtle. So that's that. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. So this is a lot of imagery, the second line, and it's just to just so that the whoever the this speaker is talking to can really see the dangers of what could happen if he would encounter the Jabberwock. And so this person who speaks here is not the speaker of the whole poem, but he is a fatherly figure to the main protagonist in the story. And then he goes and he says, "Beware the Jub bird." And since the name is capitalized, we can assume that there is only one Jub bird, which means that this really is like a monster and there's nothing like it, which just adds on to how scary it is. And the same thing here, the Frumius Bandersnatch. And Frumius sounds sort of like angry, like a furious kind of thing. So this is an angry animal, obviously. He took his vorpal sword in hand long time, the maxim foe he sought. So vorpal, that sounds kind of like a very menacing kind of word, which would make sense since it's describing a sword. And Mansksom fought, he sought. So I don't know. I don't really know what that could mean, but it's describing foe, so you can assume that it has a bad connotation. And so rested he by the tum-tum tree and stood a while in thought. So this tum-tum tree also has the same capitalization as the Bandersnatch and the Jub bird, which means that there is only one. This is a special tree. And this stanza creates tension by setting up the possibility of a fight as he takes up his sword. As in uffish thought he stood. And okay, so uffish, that's clearly an adjective, so it ends in ish, and it's describing thought. It's kind of weird to try to come up with a meaning for it, but it kind of sounds like it's rough or like a quick kind of thing, maybe. The Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and it warbled as it came. So tulgey right here, you can kind of tell that it's an adjective because it ends in E, or like in Y, and so it's describing wood, and it could be describing like the kind of trees that are in the wood, or it could describe like it's scary forest, like it's dark and gloomy. And it barbled as it came. So barbled, it's a verb because because you're saying that it barbled and it ends in ed, so you know that it's a verb, and it kind of sounds like onomatopoeia, and it could be these three words combined. So it could be kind of a sound that's between a bleat, a murmur, and a warble. So then he goes 1 2 1 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. So this 1 2 1 2 is a repeating motion which would describe the sword kind of swinging back and forth as he attacks the Jabberwock, and then and through, which means that he has actually hit the Jabberwock and it's going through its flesh. And then the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. So this is a compound verb, like a compound word that is a verb, and so it could possibly be onomatopoeia. So this could be like describing the noise that it makes when it hits the Jabberwock. He left it then, and with its head he went galumphing back. So galumphing kind of sounds like it's a mixture of the two words gallop and triumphant. So he is like, I don't know, I imagine him like skipping through the forest, and he's happy because he just killed this beast that is feared by so many people. Okay, so and then the next line says, "And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Callay," he chortled in his joy. So, so there was a shift in the previous line, and here you see it more clearly because we have that father figure come again, and he says, "Come to my arms, my beamish boy." Beamish is not an actual word, but it sounds like a happy word. And frabjous day, that sounds like a mixture of the words fabulous and joyous. And then Callooh, Callay sounds like a happy word, like something that you would say like after a victory, like hooray or woo or yay. And he chortled in his joy. So chortled sounds like it's a combination of between chuckle and snort. So it's like a noise that he's making just because he's so happy. "'Twas brillig, and the slightly toasted Garan gimble in the wave. All mimsy where the boar goes, and the mom brats out grapes." So these are the two same lines that, or four same lines that the poem started with. And I think that what this means is that even though he has killed the Jabberwock, like things have gone, like things are well now, that things have gone back to normal, and all the animals are still like going through their day-to-day lives. So like all is well, life continues, and this is, I guess it would be kind of a happy ending. So the subject of this poem is the slaying of the Jabberwocky, which is a made-up creature. Um, the occasion is the olden times, so you can kind of tell that because of the way that the father figure talks to the boy. And it's 4 o'clock in the day, and you can tell that because that's what brillig means. The audience is a general audience, um, and then the purpose is to end. It's just for entertaining. It's to write a story that is different, clearly very different. And the speaker is an unnamed person, so it's not the boy, and it's not his father figure. It's somebody else, like somebody who's just witnessing everything. And then the tone is very whimsical throughout the whole thing. There are made up words, there's made up animals, and then it gets cautious towards the middle beginning of the poem, and at the end it's very triumphant and kind of jolly. Um, so yeah, that is The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, and I hope you learned something.